Good morning from Kailua, Kona. We are here with the second episode of the Watch the Women of Kona podcast here on the Big Island in Hawaii. And it is the first year that the women own the island. We have a women.
The first year.
The first year. Yeah.
Of many
years to come when we will own the island. I'm Sara Gross. I'm here with my co-host Kelly O'Mara. Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning. We've been up for like 4 hours already.
I know. If you notice, with like our hair is wet, we swam at the pier this morning. We had a small group of 200 athletes out there swimming. And we also have Lynn Mattix with us today. Welcome, Lynn.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Good morning.
You're you're a special guest when you get the special bling microphone.
I've never felt more famous.
I'm sure. Yeah. Okay. We want to thank our sponsors also: Wahoo, Orca, Bonk Breaker, Salt Stick, Pillar, and Kerr Sports. We could not be here without them. So thank you so much for all those companies who have supported us. We are going to roll our intro and hear from a couple of our partners, and we'll be back to talk to Lynn.
Zeal pieces from Core are designed with one thing in mind: reducing your aerodynamic drag so you can go faster with no additional effort. Looking to shave a few minutes off your Ironman bike? Core's Zeal Tri-Kit is here for you. It's perfect for fast days, recovery days, and everything in between. All of Core's triathlon clothing is created specifically to fit, flatter, and perform when training and racing, so you can fully focus on being awesome. And you can get 15% off all clothing at coresports.com with the code RDAY. That's 15% off at coresports.com with the code RDAY. Computer. The ELEMNT Bolt Bike Computer and ELEMNT Rival Multisport Watch from Wahoo are two devices that you, the feisty woman listening to this podcast, need in your triathlon toolbox. The ELEMNT Bolt Bike Computer is designed for performance and engineered for simplicity. It has a sleek, simple, intuitive ride experience, and its smart navigation with turn-by-turn directions will help you explore new roads. The ELEMNT Rival Multisport Watch delivers a simple yet powerful user experience. Unique multisport features like touchless transition, multisport handover, and perfect view zoom create a seamless performance advantage whether training for a race or competing. To learn more about the ELEMNT Bolt and ELEMNT Rival, head to wahoofitness.com.
And we're back. Okay, here we are. Episode 2, Watch the Women of Kona. We're here with Lynn Mattix. Today's episode is going to be all about the moms. But first, I want to introduce Lynn. Lynn is the founder of Fund Her Tri. She's been a triathlete for 12 years. She's a vet. She's also a mother of 2. She's a local here in Kona, so she knows all the ins and outs of the island. Did I cover it all?
I feel like she solved all our problems this week.
I was going to say, I think the only thing you missed is that my new name is The Fixer.
Yeah. Every time we have a problem, we're like, Lynn can fix it.
The last 2 weeks, they're like, hey, Lynn, me again. I have another thing you can help us with.
And it's perfect because it's the mom episode, and one of the things I did was help you find a babysitter.
Yes, for one of the pros.
Yeah,
they needed a babysitter.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This is what women do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Network.
And so, why are we talking about motherhood on a triathlon podcast?
Well, I understand there are a lot of women on the island this year.
Women, yeah.
Yes. And there's actually, there is a historic number of moms for sure racing the Ironman World Champs. And I think and of course we'll talk about this, we heard from Chelsea. After Chelsea won last year, new mom. We haven't shut up about it for a year now, right? That finally
we don't plan to.
We don't plan to.
Yeah.
And she said that, right? She said people are like, when are you going to stop talking about this? And she's like, it's my life. I'm not
Never.
going to stop talking about it. Yeah. So,
yeah. I think for a long time in triathlon, a lot of us as women, we kept those things to ourselves in terms of we didn't talk about the things that we didn't see as performance related in the mainstream, but of course, having kids, it's takes a physical toll. We're going to talk about that later with some of our clips from our pros. Obviously it takes time, which affects our training. So I feel like it is ultimately all tied together. Do you find that, Lynn? You've got 2 kids. How old are your kids?
So my daughter actually turned 16 yesterday.
Oh, wow.
And I know I don't look that old, but
No, you look
fine.
I was about to say that. Yeah.
So my daughter turned 16 yesterday. My son is 14 and a half. So, right now my kids pretty much take care of themselves.
That's the idea,
yeah. So it's interesting to think about like motherhood and triathlon through all the years, because as you said, I started doing it 12 years ago. So I've been doing this since my daughter was 4. And this was by far the easiest like training or build up to a race, because it's like I can leave for 4 or 5 hours and they can just watch themselves,
Right,
where
right.
obviously that wasn't always a thing. So yeah.
Yeah.
That's an interesting point. I remember last year when Chelsea won, everyone was saying she's the first mom. We had to go back and be like, oh no, actually Natasha Bodman won, but she
Right.
had like a 16-year-old. And then we were like,
Right,
well,
right.
16-year-olds like really different than like
Totally
16-month-old.
different.
Totally
I think she
different.
had a 12-year-old.
She was like,
But-
when she started triathlon, she was 12, and
Oh,
whatever,
yeah,
you know what I
right.
mean?
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah. Because I have a 12-year-old now, and it is the beginning of that age of like, you get
Yeah.
a little bit of freedom. I can definitely, like,
Congratulations.
thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much. I kept her alive till 12.
I know. Yeah.
I
Good
feel like
job.
I should get a prize.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, you can leave for like several hours.
Yeah.
And they're good.
And yeah,
And they're
so
good.
it's a whole thing for the family dynamic, because it used to be that like my husband would stay home while I would go on the long bike ride, and he's an athlete too, so we obviously tag team that a lot of the time, but now we can do the 6-hour bike ride together. And so this time training was like, we have all this great time together because we can go for a 5-hour
right.
bike ride
Interesting,
together, which
yeah.
we've never ever done before.
Yeah.
So I mean, not never before, but during an Ironman buildup.
Yeah.
Huh.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So Kelly and I have been running around town all of last week, talking to pros. And we noticed that a lot of them had, stories about motherhood.
A lot of them had kids.
A lot of them have
We
kids.
saw that, with our eyes.
Wait, I know. We're very observant. So when we talked to Michelle Vesterby, she came 4th here in some year that I can't recall.
Like 13, 14.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
2013.
But her
or
last year was
2014.
2018 when
Yeah.
she was pregnant.
She was
Yeah.
pregnant here. Yeah. And she told us a story about how she found out that she was pregnant. So let's hear from Michelle Vesterby. The time you were here, you had no kids, but you were actually pregnant? Yeah. Yeah. Tell us about that. Like, what happened on race day, and how did you decide to race, and then how did the day play out?
I actually think I was in the shape of my life back in 18, where I was like 8 weeks pregnant. We were in Boulder, Colorado. Me and my good friend Lynn Mattix was there training with me, and I was so strong. And she was like, one day, like, "Are you pregnant or what? You have that extra spark, you have an extra gear, and I see something in your eyes." And I was like, "No way!" But actually, I haven't got my period. So, so we went down and took this pregnancy test, and it was positive. We went down again, bought like 10 extras, and I peed on all of them. And
10?
yeah, 10. Yeah, 10, I think. And Klaus was home in Denmark and didn't know anything. And I think when he woke up that morning, because there was an 8 hours time difference, so he was sleeping and he didn't answer his phone. He had like 2,500 missed call.
I have like 10 pictures of positive pregnancy tests.
Exactly. And he was like, "What is going on?" And yeah, I was pregnant because we didn't know what would happen. Could I race with this pregnancy? How far in was I?
Okay, so while we were listening to Michelle Vesterby, Lynn was telling us how you're one of her biggest fans.
I really am. So, her motto is keep smiling, or it used to be keep smiling. I think it still is.
Maybe it changed. Yeah. who knows?
But yeah, she was at the height of her career in my mind when I was first starting triathlon, and I guess not first starting, but really getting into like the subculture of things.
Right.
And
Takes a while to get into that.
It does,
subculture.
yeah. Not anymore. If you're a woman now, I think it's different because of you guys. You've done so many great things for this
We're our
sport.
own subculture.
Yeah. But yeah, I absolutely love Michelle Vesterby, and hopefully she'll watch this and be on the lookout for me, because if I see her in person sometime this week, I plan on like trying to, make her my people.
Make her
and
your
get to
people.
know
Okay,
her.
good.
Yeah.
Good.
Were you active during your pregnancies?
You mean like active? Like,
well, I know you
physically?
weren't training for triathlon yet because you started, you said, when your daughter was 4, but
Yeah.
like when you were pregnant, were you, physically active?
Oh yeah. So I was when I was pregnant with my daughter, I was still in the Air Force. So when she was 6 weeks old, I went back to work, and I, was doing military things. And so I immediately started back to running and being active. And so I've always been, I've been a runner for forever, but never competitively. So when I was in high school, I started running with my dad and doing 5Ks with my mom, mainly because in Ohio, there's pancakes at the end.
That
you
makes
do
sense,
like a lot of running for pancakes.
Right. Yeah.
And so that was really what, got me started and hooked. But yeah, so I was always very active. So
Even through the pregnancy.
during the pregnancy, I ran until it was not comfortable to run anymore, always hiking and things like that. So that was kind of who I was. And then when I got pregnant, it didn't really change. And with both pregnancies.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I know Sarah, I mean, you had a similar, like you were at a training camp and you found out you were pregnant. But you also, I know that story. But like you also there was no research, right? You also were like, do I keep training? There was nothing.
Right. We were it's sort of in the same era.
Yeah,
it's only 12 years ago. Right.
Yeah.
But there wasn't I was literally Googling people's blogs to figure out how much activity I could do safely during pregnancy.
Which you should always get medical advice from blogs.
You should get,
yeah.
But I feel like now, even over the course of the last decade, right? Things have changed a lot and people are really
there's still a lot of people don't know though, right? About what you still get doctors who are like, no, don't get your heart rate over 120 while you're pregnant. And you're
so that was the advice that I got was if your heart rate is high, the baby's heart rate is high. And so you need to keep that in check.
Right. And I think now we're that's not really right. Yeah.
And there's still a lot of research to be done as there is in so many areas of women's health. But I feel like we've seen a lot of women be a lot more active and push a lot harder.
Oh, definitely. Now you have Tia Claire Toomey, CrossFit champ.
Oh yeah.
In the gym.
Yeah.
Oh, that one. If anyone doesn't follow Tia Claire Toomey on Instagram, you should follow her. She's I think she's 5-time CrossFit Games champion. And just watching what she did during her pregnancy is absolutely mind-blowing.
Truly.
And now she's coming back, and I think she's at the Rogue Invitational whenever it is soon.
Okay, good. This now is a CrossFit podcast, actually.
CrossFit plug. Okay. Also, we know it's for every woman it's different. Coming back after pregnancy, also it takes a toll on the body. Some people come back really quickly. I've seen people racing, 10 weeks later. Other people take up to a year.
And the other thing I think. Some people, especially like you're saying, now that we're having more and more people do it and more and more people, some people also have they try to come back really fast because they've heard all these stories and it goes really bad, right? They have I can't think of the word, but it all falls apart, right? And they have long problems. So you have to, that's where it would be nice if we had more medical science.
Stress fractures,
there's all
labral
kinds
tears,
of
these kinds of injuries tend to crop up.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually talked to Jocelyn McCauley about just that.
At the beginning of the year, and I had 2 surgeries at the beginning of the year, and so I think this year has just been about hope and living on that hope because it's almost all I've had to hold on to for the first part of the year.
Whoa, okay. I saw these two standing behind the camera react to 2 surgeries.
Yeah.
What were the 2 surgeries?
Yeah, well, I've had 3 since having my daughter, actually. So she's 2.5 now. Just, having kids does something to your body. Not sure what it is, but they say it's a natural thing to do. So, but
but you have to have 3 surgeries to recover from it.
Yeah. So I don't know what happened when I had her. I heard a pop and just didn't feel right. And just things never were the same, running wise. And I just kept trying to, I'm so grateful for the PTO to have a 6-month maternity clause. But the thing is I still was putting pressure on myself to be able to get back to do the Collins Cup.
6 months isn't that long in reality.
In reality, in professional racing, 6 months is really not as long as you think it is.
Especially with a second kid. Yeah. I've heard, I don't know personally, but people have been saying it's harder to come back from the second one.
Yeah. Is that what Vesterby said?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I heard that y'all interviewed her, so I figured
that's what she said.
Yeah. No, that's what she said. Yeah. No, that's so true. Well, but if you talk to Jackie Herring, she was like, my first was horrible, my second was fine, and so it is interesting because I felt like my first was just so easy. I raced 10 weeks after.
10 weeks. Wow.
A 70.3, not a full, but still raced 10 weeks after, and then with Sydney, it was just really, really rough. So anyway, ended up having surgery on my knee in 2021 at the end. And then at the beginning of 2023, I had a labral repair, and a hernia repair. So on my radio.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know. Apparently having childbirth and tearing your labrum go hand in hand. So it is actually kind of more common than they make it out to be.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's something about pushing a baby through there in different positions. And yeah.
Wow. Okay. But you were back and you are 100% healthy now?
Yes. 100% healthy and happy and living the island life.
Right. And so. Okay, we're back in. It was great to hear that story from Jocelyn. And I know, like, for myself, I found that period right after pregnancy, right after I'd given birth, to be the hardest in terms of thinking about coming back to sport, because I think I was prepared for the pregnancy. Like, I had this like 9 months, like 40 weeks in my brain. And then the 40 weeks were over. I'm like, oh, I still can't go running.
Yeah.
You know? So I think
You're like, you
mentally,
really can't go running.
Yeah, it's like actually that's kind of the worst part. Like,
Right.
how is it for you coming back?
So, like we said, I wasn't doing triathlon yet, but I was super active. And honestly, for me, it was pretty easy and good. Like, I was very lucky. I didn't have any major issues during pregnancy. And I think obviously everyone is different, but I stayed pretty active close to when the kids were born. And so I didn't have a tough go of it coming back, but I wasn't coming back to triathlon.
Sure.
I was coming back to, hiking and
Right.
just being in general active. And coming back to running, I started running at about the 6.5 week. Like, I didn't have any difficulty with that. But I think in terms of knowing what was okay and what to do, I trusted myself, and luckily that worked out for me. But I know that that's not the case for everyone, So I think it just is. I wish that there were more things to guide us during that time.
Yeah, absolutely.
They actually they only recently just like came out with updated post-pregnancy guidelines, and they're very, and we would all be like, they're not super helpful.
Yeah, super conservative for
right.
sure.
But those are like the most recent. Before that, it was kind of like, good luck, we'll see you in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Right? And when we were off, I mean, we were talking about, like you said, like sometimes it's super easy. Even Jocelyn said her first kid was super, and then sometimes it's like there's all kinds of issues.
Yeah.
There's no running. There's lots and lots of problems. And I think like one of the things is, women just don't know which one they're going to be, and it's not like something you did wrong.
For sure.
And there's not a lot of direction, right? Like there's
For
not
sure.
a lot of guidance. And
Yeah.
so that's really like staring into an abyss.
Well, and so I was still active duty when my daughter was born, and I had to take a PT test at the 6-month postpartum point. So
okay.
Wow.
yeah, so
Interesting.
you are
So
able
you did have to train for something.
yeah, so push-ups and sit-ups and a 1.5 mile run, which I mean, in this crowd
Sure.
is like laughable, but it wasn't like, oh, you might not be able to do this. It was like, in 6 months you're doing this.
Right.
So
Right.
you need to be ready to do this. And
Right.
luckily I was, but a lot of women, it's
It
so
depends,
different.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then one thing that we're talking a lot more about too is like what can happen mentally postpartum. Like postpartum depression is very real, affects a lot of women, and that would also affect your return to training
also
as
feel like-
well.
Like we're talking here in like not generalities, but we're assuming a female audience that knows what we're talking about.
Right.
And then sometimes we get men who wonder and they're like, wait, what tour? What fell out of what? Like, but you can't walk? Like, and I feel like I have found this particularly, and maybe we're different generations.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
But even still in mine, a lot of the guys are
Kelly's
like,
like 8 years younger
I'm
than
like,
me.
I'm like a whole different generation, guys.
whole generation.
Whole
Lynn. She's
generation.
a whole
But
generation.
still,
younger.
I'm seeing a lot
We're
of
so old.
a lot of my friends are going through the like new, like they have very young kids right now because of the whole everyone had a kid last 3 years. And yes, there is a lack of information that the men, like apparently the whole other half of the gender did not get a lot of these details.
Right.
Is what I'm finding out.
Yeah.
They didn't. Yeah. They have
Well,
no
yeah,
idea.
I mean, no one was talking to us about it.
Yeah.
So no one's talking to them about it either.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, they
like,
have no
fault
idea.
of
I
their
didn't
own.
hear a
Like,
thing
yeah.
about postpartum depression. Like in a way, we made a joke about a different generation, but in a way, it almost becomes like a 30-year gap
Yes.
because of the amount of information that we're getting so quickly now about women's health just broadly.
Yeah.
So I just
Yeah.
wanted to be specific for all our male listeners out there
Right.
that
Things happen to
Things
the body. It's
Things are
hard.
changing.
Yeah.
And then, lucky for us, they change again 20 years later.
Yeah, that's the menopause edition is for another day.
Yeah.
That's this afternoon.
Yeah. I won't be here. I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah. Okay, we also talked to one of our favorites, Sara True, whose son Hawk is 2 years old now. And last year she was here on the island and she didn't have Hawk with her, and so she experienced it as a vacation. But I guess when we talked to her this year, Hawk and the family are with her, so it's kind of a different experience. So let's hear from Sara.
You were like, this is a vacation for me. I don't have a kid. This year you brought the kid. Is it still a vacation?
I have a 2-year-old here. I have 2 papers to write. And I have an Ironman to do. This is terrible. This is the worst vacation ever. What the heck? What was I thinking? I didn't think they would take me up on like, hey, let's go to Hawaii together. And they were like, oh, sure. Sounds good, mommy. Let's go on the plane. Like, kids. Yeah.
How are you managing it? Like, what's your schedule? How is it working?
Ask me in a few days. Okay. It's been a little touch and go, like 6-hour time change. I think basically, other than the very few people who live in Hawaii and do this race, the time change things, it's a real thing. Yeah.
Time the kids going to sleep at like 2 p.m, waking up in the middle of the night.
More like waking up a whole bunch and then needing a nap like at 9 o'clock in the morning. It's like, no nap now. No. He's a total mess. But yeah, if anybody wants to watch him this week and hang out with a toddler, let me know.
We are looking for babysitters. Slide into her DMs.
Grumpy toddler.
Okay. Yeah.
He's easily bribed with like, he knows where all of like my bonk breaker bars are and like chews. So he like, bribery works for little people and big people alike. So like, I'll just give you a bag of chews and bars and be like, enjoy, have fun, good luck.
Good conditioning, yeah. Like, what's the Pavlov, right? You're in grad school.
Yeah. Pavlovian response. Yeah, he starts salivating. Yeah. He does hear the crinkle, and he's like, bars, strawberry bars, because he really likes the PB&J ones. And yeah, so there's a Pavlovian response. Absolutely. Instead of a bell, I just went deep into that psych.
Yeah. It's okay. You're also in grad school right now, so we're just learning all these things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This has been a different build for you with the grad school and the 2-year-old, and you've actually had to run at like 4 a.m., 5 a.m. It's like a whole different landscape. How has that been?
It is what it is, right? Like, I think, you realize there's like a whole different world as a full-time pro. You're like, oh, my life is so busy. I have to do some interviews and like train and stuff. It's like, honey. Like Sara from 2 years ago, you know nothing. Stop being so weak. No, like, you adjust. There's so many women on this island where, like, I have so much more in common with them now. It's like, yeah, you make it happen. Right. You figure it out. Like, you're not a full-time pro, but you're trying to get the training hours to be able to complete the course, like, to your best of your ability.
You're feeling all the working moms is what I'm hearing.
Darn straight. Okay. Repping the working moms right here.
Okay, all right. You're feeling good though. I feel like you're feeling good.
Yeah. No, I'm. So last year this time I had like this nasty upper respiratory infection because like children are disgusting. Again, take my child this week. And I don't have that. So positives.
Looking up. Everything's looking up. Yeah.
I'm not hacking up my lungs, so hooray!
It's very trendy, Yeah. Back on.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so at the end there, Sara was talking about how last year she was sick, and we knew she kind of like low-key told us, I remember last year she was feeling sick and unfortunately had to pull out. But I think that's another part of like training as a mom. That's like, did you find that, Lynn? Did your kids get sick a lot and bring that home?
Yeah, so my kids are, just like every other kid. Like it would always go in waves. So one kid would get sick, and then they would give it to me, and then I would give it to my husband, and then the other kid would get sick. So it was always like this,
Yeah.
Like that's what like a circle. You're just constantly.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
It's a wave, a circle.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But the point is, it's terrible. And yeah, so we like have been lucky that not a lot of horrible, long-lasting things, but for sure the kids bringing stuff home from the age of I think about 4 until now. I mean, my
Right.
daughter last night was like sniffling a little bit, and
You're racing this weekend, so you
I
were
told
like,
her she had to live somewhere else for the next.
yeah,
few
it's fine.
days.
Makes sense. That's reasonable.
Yeah, but it really is like I think something that's not ever really considered
Yeah.
is that kids bring a lot of things to your life, a lot of them good and some of them not so good. And for sure, like bringing home viruses and all that kind of stuff is very
Yeah.
normal and very regular and not something that you're prepared for.
And can make your training super inconsistent.
Yeah, for sure.
right?
Yeah.
And I mean, we talked to Sara, and I know like she got sick right before this, and like her husband was racing New York Marathon, and then they got home and they got sick again, right? And he had to pull on, and so it's just like it was like one after another, and so it's
Yeah.
like, how do you plan that if you have to be healthy on a certain date?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like that X factor. It makes it a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot more difficult. Okay, so we're going to take a little break. And after our break, when we hear from our partners, we're going to talk to Chelsea Sodaro, who took herself from a baby to Ironman world champion in 18 months.
Goals is only possible when you fuel them. That's why we partnered with Bonk Breaker and Salt Stick to create the Feisty Fueled Box. Each box contains 2 PB&J energy bars, 2 PB&J protein bars, 2 packets of Rainbow Blast energy chews, 2 packets of the new OMG energy chews, 2 packets of Salt Stick fast chews, 3 stick packs of Salt Stick drink mix, 2 packets of Salt Stick capsules, and a Feisty sticker and custom card with product details, discounts, and fueling tips. That's over $40 worth of sports nutrition for just $30 plus free shipping. To order your box, head over to bonkbreaker.com/feistybox today. And you can get 20% off all other products at bonkbreaker.com and saltstick.com with the code FEISTY. Is about seeking. Chasing epic is the essence of the Orca brand. It is about seeking the moments in life that make us feel truly alive and connected with the beauty of the world around us. There is something about being immersed in the open water, the crash of the waves, the roar of the wind, the taste of the salt water on your lips, and the warmth of the sunlight on your skin that makes you feel at home. With a history of designing performance wetsuits for triathletes since 1995, Orca's unwavering commitment to advanced, innovative swimwear empowers you to overcome your limits. Whether you're competing in a triathlon or swimming to challenge yourself, Orca's fit-for-purpose garments are designed to meet your needs. Use the code IRONWOMAN15 for 15% off all items at orca.com. That's IRONWOMAN15 for 15% off all items at orca.com. Australian Pillar is a new Australian company with leading micronutrition products to solve problems for athletes, such as sleep. Our favorite product is their Triple Magnesium. Triple Magnesium features 3 select forms of bioavailable magnesium to support muscle health, reduce muscle cramps, relieve sleeplessness, and support nervous system health. We have all been using it, and it has been a game changer for our sleep and recovery scores. We love the berry flavor and take it with our shakers 30 minutes before bed every night. To try Pillar for yourself today, head to thefeed.com/pillar and use code FEISTY for 15% off your order. Or if you're outside the US, head to pillarperformance.shop and use the same code FEISTY.
All right. So we kind of started this conversation in the sport. I mean, it's been around forever, but we started it with Chelsea's win last year. And so I feel like it's appropriate. We're kind of ending with a clip from her.
Yeah, I think just to add to that, like last year I was actually shocked that like within moments of like the world champion coming across the line, we were talking about motherhood. Like Chelsea legit like crossed the line and was like my daughter's 18 months and this is really hard. Yeah. And I think that just like sparked an entire conversation in the triathlon world.
Yeah, she was ready to go. I actually appreciated she was ready to talk about it.
Yeah.
And so I did talk to her. I actually talked to her before Kona because we were joking about her kid being sick and everything. Her kid was sick. They were staying at her parents, kind of trying to hole up. And we were talking about, I mean, she almost quit the sport. They were making no money. How do you have a family? How do you like start a life? And now look where she is. And so we caught up about all of it.
A long time you said, and like, you have this huge team now, and you far cry from like back you're living like above the pizza shop trying to make rent, right?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that long ago that Steve and I were living, I was, 7 months pregnant, living next to a taco shop, and had like really bad morning sickness. That was only like 2.5 years ago. So it's really cool to see how our hard work has paid off. And I really feel like I'm just scratching the surface still.
And okay, so we have I feel like more and more of the women in the field, like their husbands are kind of all in on like SAG support. So what is his biggest role? What does he do for you?
His biggest role is childcare. Okay. Yeah, I mean, our daughter is our biggest priority in our life, and she's our number one job. But, we have had such a challenging time finding sustainable childcare, and my parents have been a huge help, but we just got to this breaking point this year where Sky and I were traveling all over the world and basically, doing a long distance relationship with Steve. And when you're trying to perform at the highest level of your craft, that's just was no longer a sustainable thing for me. So I think the reality is that the women's side of the sport is booming. We're getting closer to maybe gender equity. Women are earning a real living doing this sport, which makes it feasible for their partners to go all in on their career.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And does Sky like know what's going on yet? Does she like have any idea that you're world champion?
My parents were so excited after the win last year, and my dad is very proud. So he was just like playing the race nonstop. This is so embarrassing. I'm giving you guys a real sneak peek into the Sodaro household. My dad was playing it nonstop. He was just like so proud watching it. So occasionally Sky will just start sprinting through the living room and hold up her arms and go, "Chelsea Sodaro." And pretend she's Mike Riley or something. Okay. But I don't think she knows that I'm world champion. She doesn't really care I'm world champion. She still thinks that I'm faster than her, which is a win. But she's a little shredder on her bike. Okay. She's getting pretty speedy, so who knows how long it will last.
That's actually really funny.
Yeah. I think we're doing, a pretty good job. Like, our universe really revolves around her. And of course, I work really hard and we work really hard on my career. But at the end of the day, like, our family is really the most important thing.
And she's got to go to so many countries already and like do so many things. Yeah.
I know. She's well traveled. I keep joking, like, in a couple years, she'll say, "Mama, when are we going on Euro tour?" Like, it's just normal to go to St. Moritz for the summer.
That was Iron.
We're in.
All right. So one of the things I obviously have really appreciated about Chelsea this whole past year, because I did a story with her, we talked to her a lot, is how willing she's been to talk to everyone about the actual challenges, right? And not just like, look, the physical challenges, which we've talked about, the childcare challenges, like also like the structural challenges, right? And one of the things that her and I've talked about and that she's talked a lot about is like, it's not just like women try harder. Like, there are structural, systemic, like societal things that are set up to make this difficult. And so you need, like, her husband has now quit his job to support her, just raise the kid, right? And like, you need that other person. You need something there. You can't do it all.
Yeah,
actually.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And who wants to do it all?
Well, some people.
Yeah, no, I think so I do want to do it all. Like, I want to do all the things. And I have a full-time job. I have a pretty demanding, awesome job.
Yeah.
I'm an air traffic controller. Like, I have a demanding job and I want that job. I like my job. I want to be able to do it. Mm-hmm. I want to have a family. I want to be a good triathlete. Mm-hmm. I want to be a nonprofit founder. Like, I want to do all the things, but I think I recognize the fact that I cannot do all those things alone. Like, you have to, obviously, I think women have learned over the years how to lean on other women, which is awesome. But I also have to lean on, if you have a spouse that happens to be a man, like I lean on him and am vocal about like, I need this. Like I'm going to need you to do whatever. And I'm lucky to have one that doesn't need me to tell him what I need most of the time. But I think this is important to like, for people to understand that we're having to say we need something most of the time. Whereas like men haven't really had to do that, you know? So
Yeah. When Rosie was first born, I made it was basically like an around the clock schedule of like who was going to be responsible.
Yeah.
Like if even in the night, like who was responsible if she cried, like who was, from very, very early on. And then we also had like childcare from when she was 1, like full-time childcare. It started at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
So you do need those things to make it work.
Yeah. I think making it work is like, everybody's version of making it work is obviously going to be different. But I think that one of the things that I thought was so awesome about Chelsea's win and then her speech afterwards at the awards banquet was that making it work doesn't necessarily mean that mom has to make her goals less or make her expectation less. Like I said, I want to do it all. And I mean that. Like I shouldn't have to decide, okay, well, if I want to be a really great triathlete, then I can't have this awesome job that I want to also have, And so I think if there's anything to take away from Chelsea's example, it's that we can still have the biggest dream. Like we can still have the biggest goal and we can still pursue that. And making it work just looks like, how do we get the right people in our life so that we can make it work,
Yeah. And sometimes we do still have to ask for support, of course.
For sure, yeah.
But I do feel like hopefully we're moving more to that place. Like the support should just be there.
It should be.
Like the responsibility for the
thing.
like the responsibility for the childcare doesn't just automatically land on us because we're women. And that's like more where we should be. Just like kind of like giving equal prize money isn't exactly like this great thing. It shouldn't be this great thing for women. It should be just like what you do because that's fair. And I feel like it's the same thing with other, like with childcare or with other household tasks. They should just be everybody's responsibility who's involved with the child or the home.
But I think we have to get there, right? So like just like you guys, we would be not doing any justice to this whole thing if we didn't acknowledge the fact that you guys have changed media for women.
We've changed media.
You've changed media in a huge way. And you did that because you saw that something needed to change and you inserted yourself where that change needed to happen. And bravo, by the way.
Thank you.
But also like women, so we want something to be different. We see that something needs to be different in our lives. Like you're right, it should be different. But if it isn't, well then make it different. Right? Like if you're in a situation, if you're in a family where your family dynamic doesn't allow for you to pursue your goals or your dreams, well then you got to change that, And so I guess that for me is like the biggest takeaway is that my personality allows it, naturally this is okay for me to speak up, and maybe not everyone's like that, but you don't have to accept the way that it is and say, oh, well, it should be different. Like, let's all make it different. Like if we all work towards making it different, it will be different.
All right.
Absolutely.
Done.
I think that's a great.
I feel like that's a good place to end.
Great place to end. Lynn, before we go, I do want to ask you about your nonprofit. Yes. Ta-da! Lynn has spoken. I want to ask you about your nonprofit. I know that you fund women to do their first triathlons who haven't done them before.
Yes. So I founded Fund Her Tri, which is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. I founded it in 2019. On the heels of, some of the work that you guys did, and basically just understanding how important it was for women, for equality, number one, but for women to get to the start line. So what my nonprofit does is we raise money. So all donation based. We do not have any paid employees. So I don't get a paycheck for this. It's totally a labor of love. But we raise money to pay for women to do their first triathlon. So it's up to $150 and we do reimbursement. So you register for your first race, you do our application online, and then we will reimburse you for your race registration. Has to be first time and has to be Olympic distance and shorter. But those are the only real requirements. But triathlon, just very simply changed my life. I think I had a lot of things when I started training for triathlon. I had a lot of things I needed to work through and process in order to come out on the other side. I didn't even realize that needed to happen. And then I started triathlon training and it happened. And I was like, oh my God, that was incredible, you know?
Yeah.
And so it changed my life. And I consistently would talk to other women who had a very similar story. And I was like, this is all women need to be doing triathlon.
All women
So
need to be
awesome.
doing
You know,
triathlon.
like everything
Yes.
about it is wonderful. It's so amazing. And
Yeah.
but I also recognize all the societal norms, all the things.
Yeah.
And I know that it's hard for women to get to the start line. And so that's how Fund Her Tri was born. I wanted to encourage women to get to the start line. And I think having someone invest in you, even if it's just $100, is really meaningful. And for sure, the stories that come back, it does help people a lot, I think. So, so that's what I do. So right now, as I mentioned, I have a pretty full plate. So I haven't had time to do much fundraising. So if you're watching this and you want to donate to Fund Her Tri, we would really love that. But yeah, and also if you're a first-time triathlete, please visit the website in a couple months and apply for sponsorship. Yeah. So that's Fund Her Tri.
Fantastic. Well,
Thank
we
you
love
for
what
letting
you
me
do.
talk about it. And thank you guys so much for having me.
Yes, we love what you do and we believe in you. So thank you for everything that you do as well. Okay, we are for those who are watching live or who are listening shortly after and are here in Kona. We are here on Wednesday and Thursday morning from 7 to 9 at our pop-up shop on Alihi Drive at mile 4.5. If you want to come see us, see our shirts. Although I think these are sold out.
Yeah, we don't have those. But we do have these.
We have those. We have stuff. We have shirts. Come see us. We're fun. Even if you just want some free bonk breaker stuff, we got you. And then we are also running a contest this week. And it is called
We couldn't just
Watch the Women Giveaway.
It's called the Big Island Grand Prize Super Giveaway.
So head to our Instagram page, look for the post that says giveaway. And that is how you enter. There's $1,600 worth of prizes. And there's 9 different ways you can enter. So yeah, go over there, do that. And we will see you all here tomorrow morning.